Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Big Data Coding Journal. So as we all know, big data is now becoming a very good choice for making a career in data science or in machine learning. So here I will be giving you a very basic training on big data by using Spark and Hadoop with the supporting programming languages like Scala and Python. So before jumping to the code directly, I would like to take you all through the basic concepts of big data, what big data is, how it can be implemented by using different approaches, and what we used to use to implement the big data earlier, and now what are the different technologies that are booming in the market. So let's see what exactly big data is. Okay, now I can see there are some daily used social media icons are there on the screen. So why I have given this on the screen? Because I just want to tell you the basic count that we are generating in the form of data on the daily basis. So apart from this, there are a lot of transactions are going on and we are generating our data in the form of information and that is getting stored somewhere. So it comes under banking transactions or any government websites or medical insurance policies, contact center information, mobile data, instant messages, anything, like everything is now is getting generated in the form of data, and we are analyzing it, we are transforming it, and we are storing it somewhere. So let's start with Twitter, and I can see 1 lakh of new tweets are going on daily basis. This is the very huge count that we are generating nowadays. Then Instagram, I can see 100 millions of updates are there on daily basis, which is also very large amount of data. Then WhatsApp is again very common, and I can see 65 billions of messages we are exchanging with our friends on daily basis. This is also very huge amount of data. Then Google searches. This is very common now. So whatever comes to our mind, we are putting our question on the internet and searching it on the Google. So I can see 2 trillions of new Google searches are there on the internet on the daily basis platform. Then emails, I can see 168 millions of emails we are sending and receiving. So this is also very huge amount of data. Then NASA. I can say this is very small amount of data, that is 24 terabytes of data is generating by NASA. This is very less count. But now I can see they have been in the project where they are implementing some mission and spacecrafts data they will be receiving in the form of images, audio, videos, or in the form of signals, and they are projecting in such a way that they will be generating 250 petabytes of data on daily basis. That is very huge amount of data in coming 2030 in the future. So all this data is now impossible to store in the previous database systems like RDBMS or MongoDB or any traditional database system that we used to use. And this is almost impossible to store these kind of huge data in this RDBMS or MongoDB kind of database system. And that's the reason big data and some other technologies along with big data has been come into the picture. So let's see what are the different approaches to handle this big data. So moving ahead, let's look at what are the different approaches for big data. So we'll start with Cassandra, Hadoop, and then we will see what exactly Spark is. So Cassandra was the very old example. Nowadays, Cassandra is only used for storing the data and not for evaluating the data because there are some limitations. And that's the reason Cassandra is not more useful to analyze and transforming the required data. So next is the Hadoop. Hadoop is for batch processing. Batch processing is something what historical data. So Hadoop is also again a very good example for big data, but there are some limitations now are going on with the Hadoop also, because live data is getting streamed on the Hadoop, and for that reason Spark is now getting implemented. So I will tell you just few examples of difference between Hadoop and Spark. So Hadoop is for the batch processing, whereas Spark is for real time processing. This is the main difference. Then both can run on its own cluster, but Spark can also run on the top of the Hadoop, that is by using the Yarn cluster. Then Hadoop comes with the storage part, Hadoop distributed file system, whereas Spark use the same file system. In this aspect, Spark seems like just a processing framework which uses data stored on HDFS, whereas Hadoop a framework for storage and processing. But before Spark, there were different tools to analyze the data stored on HDFS, like MapReduce for batch processing, Hive for SQL programmers, Pig for data flow, Apache Storm for real-time processing, and many more. But the Spark is the only tool which comes with all of these kind of all single platforms in one framework, which is in the single framework. So this includes Core Spark, Spark SQL, and Spark streaming also. So think Spark as a general purpose framework. And the main difference between Spark and Hadoop is Spark offers in-memory computation with the use of RDDs. I will tell you later on what RDD and what is the in-memory computation. Whereas Hadoop never supports the in-memory computation, and that's why there are a lot of limitations on the Hadoop. And now Hadoop is becoming only the storage system, and on top of which we will be using the Spark and different programming languages. So, okay, what is Spark? So the Spark is cluster computing framework, which is also called as data processing framework, which is used to store the data, analyze them, and then get refined data by applying transformation on that and storing the refined data in the form of Hive tables. So Spark is also analytics engine for processing large scale of data, and it can be used anywhere. So when I say it can be used anywhere, there are a lot of examples that are given below. So the Spark can be used on the top of Hadoop by using the Yarn cluster, and then it can be used on Mesos. It can be used on standalone system, and S3 is something the service from Amazon. So the Spark can be used on the cloud also for storing and for analyzing the data, and to store back the refined data also. So this is the Spark core, and we will be learning everything in the Spark core, and these are the basic components of the Spark. So this is the machine learning, and this is the graph, and this is Spark streaming. So we will be learning all the SQL queries which are used for applying the transformation on the data frames, including Spark Core and Spark SQL also. So, so the end-to-end procedure of the Spark is storing the data, analyze them, and apply transformation on the data, and whatever the refined output of the data which is get transferred after applying the transformation, storing such data in the form of Hive table. Okay, so this is also the basic structure of this Spark, in which the Spark Core API has been given. So the Spark is implemented by using different programming languages like R, SQL, Python, Scala, and Java. And we will be learning the Scala as a programming language first, and then we will move to the Python. So let's move ahead. So why Spark? So as I told you, there were different approaches, Cassandra, Hadoop, and Spark. But why only Spark is getting used by different organizations nowadays? So there are very basic and common reasons behind that. So in-memory computation. So this is a very important use of Spark. So in-memory computation also include the concept of RDD, which I will be telling you in the later part. then stream processing, lazy evaluation, and less lines of code. So first of all, we will see what in-memory computation is. So in Apache Spark, in-memory computation defines as instead of storing data in some slow disk drives, the data is kept in the random access memory, that is in the RAM. Also, that data is processed in the parallel way, and by using in-memory processing, we can detect a pattern, analyze the large data, which reduces the cost of memory, and therefore it is becoming popular, and that's why the Spark is now becoming very a useful tool in the market. There is stream processing. So there are two types of data processing, batch processing and stream processing. So in the batch processing, historical data is getting generated and transformed. But nowadays, it is very important to stream the data on live. So whatever data is coming live, we need to stream that data. So here is a basic figure which I would like to share with you. So here real-time processing in the Spark has been given. So whatever giving our data as an input on daily basis, it is get processed on the same day itself. It is not storing somewhere and then it is not getting transformed on the next day. So whatever data is coming on daily basis, it is getting processed on the same day itself. So this is called as stream processing, whereas batch processing is very different. In the batch processing, data is coming, it is getting stored somewhere, and then in the batches it is getting generated and it is getting transformed, whereas streaming is something which we can say it is a dynamic processing of data. Next, lazy evaluation. So this is very important in the Spark. I will tell you what exactly lazy evaluation is in the code by including the concept of transformation and action. But as of now, let's understand what lazy evaluation is. So without lazy evaluation feature, Spark is not able to run the program. So this is the start point of the Spark program by using any programming language. So we will see the coding part later, and in that I will be telling you what and how lazy evaluation is very useful in the Spark. So the next one is lazy evaluation. In the lazy evaluation also, I would like to add one more point. So transformation and action is something which is very important in the Spark, and how they can be applied on the data frames or RDD or data sets, I will be telling you in the next coming videos also. So the next is less lines of codes. So as we will be our programming language as a Scala and Python, and using Spark, if we are writing 100 lines of code in Java, we are replacing one line of code for those 100 lines in the Spark. So this is the power of the Spark by using Python or Scala as a programming language. So these are the very common reasons of why we should use the Spark. Okay, as I already mentioned in the previous slide that Spark can be implemented by using different programming languages like Scala, Python, Java and R language. So I would like to also add one more thing, that Spark itself has been developed and implemented by using Scala language. So Spark supports the Scala language by default. So whenever we are trying to learn Spark, it is very easy to start with this Scala as a supportive language, and then we can move for the further languages also. So first we will see Scala as a programming language in our sessions, and then we will move to Python as well. So next I will tell you how the end-to-end procedure is there for the Spark. This is the basic flow of the Spark, and here some input data is coming in the form of images, audio, videos, files, then emails, and then some text files also, and other file formats also. So there are four types of file formats that we are looking for, and we will take one example in the coming sessions. So all these incoming data is categorized into three different types of data, that is structured data, semi-structured data and unstructured data. So in structured data, the database like SQL database, MongoDB or Cassandra, this kind of database are coming under the structured data. The next one is semi-structured data. So the file formats like text file, ORC file, JSON file and Avro file, such kind of data which is represented in the form of the files are coming under the semi-structured data. And the last one is unstructured data. So as the name itself states that the data which is coming in the different formats like images, videos and audio, so they don't have any specific format specified. So the data is coming from any social websites or from government websites or any satellite communication regarding information. So all these data are coming in different ways like images, videos, audio files. Again, in audio and video files, there are different formats: MP4, MP3. So likewise, all this data, which is not having the any specific format, is called as unstructured data. So once we have all the data, the next process is to transform the data and getting the required data from the raw data. So when I say apply transformation, it is about applying transformation also, but including SQL queries. So whenever we are applying transformation and actions, we are applying some SQL queries and getting refined output from the raw data. So when I say refined data, it is means that we are creating new data frame from the raw data. And once we have that data frame, we are storing that data frame into the Hive tables. So it's not like we are getting the required data from the raw data and creating new data frames after applying our business logic. There might be case that there is a one existing data frame which is already there in the code, and you might need to apply again one more transformation or multiple transformation on the current data frames and then creating new data frame from the existing data frames. So I will tell you in detail what data frames are, how they are implemented in the Spark, how they are created and how it can be used to create new data frames from the existing data frames also. So this is the basic flow. I will just revise once again. We are getting the input in the form of different formats, and we are applying the transformation on that as per our business logic, and then we are getting the refined output or required output from the raw data, and then whatever data we have got from the raw data, we are storing it somewhere. So it might be Hive tables. So many companies they are using Hive tables. Again, in the Hive tables there are two different types: external table and internal table. So if you want to store the metadata information also with the meta store, you can go for the internal table, or else we can create some external tables also. So how to create external table and how to use existing internal table for storing the refined data, we will be looking in the next coming videos. Okay, now we will see what are all the topics that we will be covering in our training sessions. So the first one is installation of the Spark and other tools. So before installing the Spark, you should have JDK installed on your machine with the current version. And then we will see how to install the Spark and other tools. And when we talk about IDE, we will be using IntelliJ as an IDE for Scala and PyCharm for the Python. So before moving to the writing the code directly into the IntelliJ or in the PyCharm, I would like to take you through the basic commands that we run on the shell script. So for Scala, when we install the Spark with the latest version in our machine, there is a default shell script is there for Scala. So first we will see how we can run the commands, what are all the basic commands for running on the Spark shell, and then we will look at this PySpark. So there is a shell for Python also, and which is called as PySpark. So first we will see for this Scala, that is Spark shell, and then we will move to the PySpark. The next one is project creations in IDE. So once we have a basic idea how to run the basic commands on the shell script, we will move to the creating projects and writing the code in IDE. itself. The next one is introduction to RDD, data frames and data sets. So I will give you the brief coding and the brief knowledge about RDD, what data frames are, and how data sets are created, and how we can apply the transformation on the raw data, and then how we can create the RDDs, data frames, and how they are stored into the Hive tables. The next one is transformations and actions. So transformation and action and lazy evaluation, both these points I will be telling you in the combined video, that is in the one video, so that you will be easy to understand how lazy evaluation works and how transformation and action relates to the lazy evaluation. And the last one is storing the evaluated data in Hive tables. So once we have all the data, once we have applied all the business logics on the data frames, the last one is to store the data somewhere. So we will be taking the approach of Hive tables, and we will see in the code how we can store these data frames or data frames in the Hive tables. So these are all the topics that we will be covering in the coming videos. So this is my channel, Big Data Coding Journal. If you are new to my channel and if you want to get updated about the new videos that I will be uploading on the YouTube, you can always subscribe my channel, and you can have a look for the coming videos. So I hope this video was useful and helpful for you guys, and see you in the next coming video. Thank you.